Alright, you hear that, Scruff? Is that your codec or is that mine?
I think it's some kind of burst transmission.
Let's check it out. Hello?
Not yet, Scruff. It's not over yet.
Ah, it's Waylander.
He gets me every time.
So, any codec moments from you, Snake?
Hey, brothers. It's been too long.
Waylander from the sub. How you doing today, Way?
Good.
I think we're dealing with a lot of different time zones here. It's 9:38 in the morning for me here. What about you over there, Flash?
I'm rocking it at 1:38. It's my prime time, 1:38 a.m.
And it's 2:38 p.m. in the afternoon in the beautiful Scottish land.
I think Way's got the most convenient time going on right here for sure.
Yep. Yeah, definitely a bit of a turnabout with that, eh?
Yeah, right on. So what's new with you, Waylander? Anything new and exciting?
Not much, really. Just looking for jobs and stuff. Graduated, as you know. So just keeping busy that way. Just trying to keep in touch with everyone. And I mean, became a moderator of the sub. That was pretty big. So.
Hey, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And congratulations, too.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, congrats. I definitely know the pain on the job hunt front. I was just telling Flash before you got in here. I had this interview for this social media gig. It turned out to be shit. It's a law firm. And she's got memes all over the Facebook page and doesn't want to change that. So I don't think I'll be taking that opportunity.
That doesn't sound great.
Sounds like a well-dodged bullet.
Yeah, it was a fun story. What about you, Flash? Did you still doing rehearsing on that play?
Yeah, that's right. We've had a few rehearsals, had full books down a couple of months ago for the first quarter, so it's good to start getting that out of the way early. And what else have I done? Been doing a table read of The Importance of Being Earnest next Friday.
Cool.
So yeah, we just had a quick run through for that, but we'll just be sitting on stage reading it off the scripts, just a real quick and nasty table reading for a wine and cheese evening or something. So that should be fun. It's got wine.
That sounds pretty cool. Speaking of actors, actually, I'm going to a housewarming party with my actor buddies that I've mentioned occasionally. They're just moved flat and they're throwing a massive party on Saturday. So if you don't see me on the subreddit Saturday night, Sunday morning, I've probably drunk myself into a stupor. So.
Excellent. We'll look forward to it.
Fun things. I go out to the bar.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. That's all I do when I'm not doing anything else.
Yeah, I'm not complaining. Alright guys, now that we have Waylander on air with us, we can get started with the Codec Moments Episode 2 podcast. I am joined here this time, hopefully as always, with Flash Medallion, and as you just heard, Waylander 893 is joining us from the subreddit today.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Mr. Black.
Alright, so let's have a look at our subreddit rundown. That's a weekly thing. We're looking at top of past week, so hopefully it's a pretty good little slice of what's been going on. Sitting right at the top, Kojima and Friends, which I'm reserving for a band name, singing Snake Eater through Twitter.
I give my life, not for honor, but for you.
That was beautiful. It brought a tear to my eye.
Stephanie Tristan on Someday Your Feet on a Tree Frog. I think that's set up.
It would have had that, yeah. That's marketing.
That's a weird thing to set up, though. Like, what kind of... If someone just finally had a bright idea at Konami and said, hey, guys, why don't we just sing some Snake Eater over Twitter or something? People will love that shit.
Well, I think they know their market quite well. They know about us and they know about Young and that, so they know that they'll eat this up. So.
There's a difference between... This is obviously Kojima over at Konami in Japan. I'm not sure what the connection is with them and the marketing side of Konami LA. I would assume they're quite separate.
It could even just be a fun thing for fans, though. Like, they know it and they'll be like, they'll get a kick out of this. And
I find it weird that it was Hideo Kojima's Japanese account that chipped in on it.
yeah, I thought that too. And I wonder if you just kind of saw it and it's like, oh, that looks really cool. I'll jump on there too.
They're probably all in the studio right now doing some recording. Like, hey, let's have a Twitter conversation.
Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me at all. What else we got going on here? Kojima is going to take back everything that he's lost, and Kojima and army fatigues and an assault rifle.
Well, he's not going to do too good if he doesn't have a silencer. Has he learned nothing from the games?
Yeah, that must be the military training they all got for, I'm going to say, Metal Gear Solid 2?
Yeah, it's hard
Yeah,
to
it
tell
was.
from looking at him because he always looks the same damn age.
He really does, though. I'm assuming he's like slaughtering virgins and drinking their blood or something, because whatever he's doing is fucking magic.
That's
Hey, it worked for me.
Next, we've got Kojima Productions' name drop is beneficial to Mr. Kojima and something he probably negotiated for, which makes a buttload of sense.
It does. I love this post.
Surprised it never came up earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was
Someone
MGS
saying that.
Hot gave us that one.
Ah, yes, MGS Shot Hot.
Shot Hot.
Am I right? Yeah.
I have no idea. It's kind of like the Direct TV thing. Like, is it Direct V or is it Direct TV?
Oh, I'm gonna be up all night. Okay, moving on. I don't know if this. I know this isn't MGSV related, obviously, but seeing as Metal Gear Nintendo, rip for Mr. Iwata, absolutely.
Oh, right.
I was really taken aback because I woke up and it had happened, and that guy is one of my idols. He worked up from being a programmer to the head of a company. Yet he still loved games and stuff. That's what I want to do.
Still getting his hands dirty, eh? Like even at that really executive level, management level, he was still getting his hands dirty. There's a lot to respect about that.
Messing around, he didn't take himself too seriously, and he will be missed very much.
I loved it's going to escape me now. Who was the guys from the studio that did their own? The guys who did Wonderful 101, Platinum.
Platinum.
When they did their Nintendo Direct and they got the guy in a suit and he was taking the piss out of Mr. Iwata, it was very funny.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I'll always remember that fight Iwata had with what's his name. It was very JoJo-esque with all the punches and flips and stuff for Smash Bros.
Yeah. Metal Gear Solid 2 ending. Oh my god. Hey, Wade, do you want to do a dramatic reading of this comic?
Okay, am I the bear or the bird?
You can be the bear.
Okay. You might as well give up, Reginald. You see, I knew your plan all along.
Ah, but you see, I knew you knew.
But what if you failed to realize that I knew that you knew that I knew?
Sweet, naive bear Tato. I knew from the start that you knew that I knew that you knew.
Ah, but you see, I knew that you knew that I knew that you knew that I knew.
What?
That was fantastic.
Stupid machines.
Rarg!
Roar!
This didn't make it into the top 5 of the week, but I did want to briefly touch on it. Another shameless self-promotion. I did a little thread that blew up. I was expecting only 5 or 10 replies, and then I lost track because it got up close to 400 comments. But the MGS confessions, I saw yours flash. Waylander, I either missed yours or didn't see it there.
No, I've been really busy actually looking for work and stuff, so I've really just been coming onto the sub, making sure no one's, breaking any rules or anything now that I am a mod and I can... Not that I abuse any... Anyway.
I saw yours flash was you liked Johnny and MGS4, which I thought was the more shocking one, and that the boss was an idiot.
I believe I said a fucking idiot.
Yeah, fucking idiot. Please elaborate.
Okay, so riddle me this, right? The boss wants to unite the world again in peace. Because what's happened is the people who ran the world completely lost all their ideals and they split up into 3 groups and started having shit fights about it. So her plan to rectify this is to pick one team out of all these fucking idiots and then just allow them to wipe out the rest and run everything. Who the fuck came up? What kind of idea? What kind of logic is that?
I guess.
She really was a patriot because she said, "Yeah, America's the best, so America's going to win." What a stupid decision! I'm glad it didn't work.
You could maybe argue though that maybe she didn't intend for Zero to go his route. She was trying to get Naked Snake to understand. And the whole Zero idolizing her thing, I don't know how much of that was what she intended. He's more sort of a fanboy and just sort of tagging along.
It's funny because she was trying to restore the philosophers.
Yeah.
That was her goal. And Zero went, nah, and just kind of grabbed all their money and turfed them out on their ass, which is interesting.
I thought one of this... Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, because they twist around, there's a very much Darth Vader killed your father stuff going on in the credits of Metal Gear Solid quite a bit, where they say the American philosophers became the patriots. It's like, well, that's true from a certain point of view. And they go on later to say, well, it's a little bit more nuanced than that. So it's easy to get lost with that stuff, as I'm sure we all know. But I've just found her original plan to be retarded. Off you go.
And not only was that retarded, I thought, to me, the stupidest fucking thing that she did was telling Eva to tell Snake what happened. And then in her mind, she's thinking like, oh, surely not, like, this will all be for the best. There's no way that he'll ever be, like, ragefully pissed off that the government had me murdered for, just political ends. He'll be fine.
Especially telling Eva to tell Big Boss what her plan was, when Eva couldn't even grasp the fact that Big Boss and the boss had a relationship that transcended any kind of, like, because Eva was like, so you were lovers? And Big Boss was like, well, it's more complicated. Like, Eva couldn't even understand that, and then the boss was like, okay, so here's my plan. Are you sure you don't want me to write it down? And Eva's like, nah, I got it.
Yeah, let me drop some really heavy shit on you.
Not only this, but secretly, I know that you're a traitor, so we've set you up with a fake philosopher's legacy. But I also want you to pass this incredibly important message on to Naked Snake.
I think the fake legacy is Ocelot's doing. He got in there before the stuff with Boss and Eva and switched them out.
I think that makes the most sense. Yeah.
He says that after the credits that he switched out, so he has the real philosopher's legacy, and then the boss didn't realize, because I mean it's a microfilm. She probably doesn't go around with like an eye camera or whatever. So she gave that to Eva. The boss probably knew quite a lot about Ocelot and what he was doing, but at the same time she might not have, like, he might have pulled the wool over her eyes a little bit. I mean, who would expect...
She knew the whole plan. She knew that he was part of it.
But I mean, who would expect Metal Gear Solid 3 Ocelot to be able to outwit anyone? So...
but he's so good. That's how good his disguise is. He comes across as like this cocky young kid. So everybody ignores him. And Volwin's like, Ocelot, go do something. He's like, fuck you, old man. I want to watch you fight Snake.
He gives Snake the gun. Volgin like flips out and he's like, you're a bitch. You fucking go fight him like a man.
I think my MGS confession might be that MGS3 Ocelot is my favorite Ocelot. Like,
it's just the meow, isn't it?
It is the meow, and like his self-esteem team, as Hayam Daisy puts it.
Yeah.
Mine, I think mine was just that I really like Twin Snakes, which I feel like is a pretty big one.
I don't like how they handled the ending, but I mean,
it counts as a confession because people will slap you around for it. But there's worse things in life than liking Twin Snakes. I mean, it's a little broken, but it's not shit.
Fair enough. I do. This is sometimes, I think I brought this up last week, that I find, and this week actually, that I find the bulk of MGS2 dreadfully boring.
Oh, well. You just don't understand it.
You just not deep enough.
That would have been a better confession. It looks like we've managed to successfully avoid the other half of my confession. So.
Oh right, let's. What do you like about Johnny?
I said I think Johnny is fantastic in MGS4.
I really like Johnny in MGS4 as well, actually, because he's a bit like Snake, but he's not. Like he's still the funny character, but he's meant to be sort of the stand-in for Meryl at the end. Like he even looks a little like with the hair and stuff.
I don't mean Johnny the character is fantastic. I mean everything about him is fantastic. Like the way he's deployed in the plot, as well as some of the other kind of ideas floating around. I think he's great. And if you can't handle a shit joke, like if you're taking your Metal Gear Solid 4 so seriously, and it is a serious game, but if you're taking it so seriously that a shit joke of all things makes you go, oh, that was dumb, then I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it's not the shit jokes that I mind. Like I love the fact that he's there for the humor relief. My biggest, and really probably only huge complaint, but it is a big one, was the whole Meryl romance thing. I hated that.
I thought it was so cheesy. I loved it. Like the whole, when they're fighting with the guns and the reload, like they become what SOP tried to do, but without SOP. Like they
that was
became
cool.
and they're all doing that, and then like, I want you to marry me, and she's like, no, because I want you to marry me.
Yeah.
It's like,
But the whole scene is, it's not just comedic writing, it's the whole scene is really comedically like acted physically. It reminds me of Jackie Chan almost. Like action and comedy are actually very similar.
Yeah.
Jackie Chan knows that, and the Meryl and Johnny fight scene knows that too. That it's actually quite funny, and you need that moment because it's been piling on pretty heavy up till then.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit of respite.
I'm not a huge fan that Meryl's storyline ended in her getting married, but at the same time, it does make sense from a point of view. But it's
from a point of view.
From a certain point.
It's a little contrite.
Yeah, but I mean, once I accept that, like, I find the rest hilarious. I love Johnny's excuse, like, how did you never get nanomachines or, die like the other genome soldiers from having their genes microwaved? He's just like, oh, I don't like needles, so I just, every time I'm sick, I can't get my needles.
The most incompetent guy in the Metal Gear Solid universe somehow outwitted the Patriots. Like, he managed to dodge injection day every time it came up.
Like, by accident. The only way the ending could have been better is Snake goes through the microwave hallway and like doesn't get to the machine, and then Johnny just sort of stumbles in by accident and leans on it and breaks it. That would have made me laugh. Like, whoops!
I just didn't like.
Did you guys ever play with Akio?
I just didn't like, I guess, how fast it was. He pulled off the mask and they had their first kiss, and then, assuming within the week, he was, oh, by the way, I've been stalking you for the past, 19 years and have been, without you knowing, been following you around, and I'm the guy that's been shitting all over the place every time you go anywhere, and I had my mask on and was watching you through a baklava, while you were working, and will you marry me? It's like,
he didn't stalk her for the full 9 years. There was that period of time he was on Big Shell, remember? He was... True.
And somehow survived it. Here's my question. They refitted all the Galukovich. Somehow he got drafted into Colonel Galukovich's, or Olga's private Russian mercenary army.
The best private army in the world, I'll remind you.
Yeah, and then they retrofitted all the soldiers into Tengu gear, so at some point... Johnny was running around as an Arsenal Tengu, and he survived the crash into New York City.
He's got liquid syndrome. You just can't kill him.
What I was going to say is, did anybody ever play as Johnny in Metal Gear Online? Because he was a lot of fun.
I really liked him, actually. I loved his sniper rifle.
Yeah.
Well, the anti-material rifle is a really useful trick, but his non-SOP is great, especially if you're in a Team Sneak.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. God, it's been
suddenly, Johnny's the man. I love his little poses he does. He's like, ta-da! When you do salute.
Super Sentai!
And the other thing that just always jerks at my heart, is that what it is? Jerks at my heart? Jerks at my tears?
Tugs at my heart,
I think. Tugs my heartstrings.
That's the one.
Yeah. Something that, tugs my jerk tears. Is that whenever Johnny and Meryl are opposing teams, they cry out for the other one if they die.
Yeah. Another trick from
you
Meryl.
just pop Johnny in the head and she goes, Johnny! Oh my god.
A trick I remember, I never saw anyone mention this on any forums or anything, but if you are Meryl and both the guns you select are Desert Eagles, then when you run out of ammo on the first one, she instantly switches to the next one instead of having to select that. Do you have any MGO stories, Scruff? I know we're running kind of late and this is a bit tacked on at the end, but...
I played MGO 1 actually a lot more than I did MGO 2, only through product of circumstance. I didn't have a PS3 for a very long time. I still beat 4 at launch because my buddy had one and he was kind enough to just, hey, I'm going out of town for a week, please watch my house. I bought Metal Gear Solid 4, have at it.
That's fantastic.
Nice. Oh yeah, it was great. I had the whole house to myself and just locked myself away and played it numerous times. But with MGO 1, I met a clan in the game, and then we got together on AOL Instant Messenger. We didn't have a message board or anything, but I mean, it was just a great group of guys. I kind of prefer MGO 2, but MGO 1 definitely actually has more memories for me.
Oh, right on.
I really loved MGO 2. I've already told tons of stories to people of different people I met through MGO 2 and stuff.
Like Flash.
Well, yeah, me and Flash actually met through MGO 2, and it was a bit of a Kaz and Big Boss situation. Probably it was a while ago.
I'd like to share the story, but there's no way that I remember it. But I do know I would add occasional people if I'd had a good match with them on PSN, and then me and Wade's gotten chatting on the subreddit like I'm gonna say 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah. And then I just happened to be browsing through my friend list, and I was like, wait a minute, Flash Medallion, just like on the subreddit. So I messaged them being like, yo, this is a bit weird, but we're friends on PSN.
Small world, that's crazy.
Yeah. If you want to know how we met, there's a YouTube video called Big Boss and Kaz Japanese, I forget the name, it came with Ground Zeroes. Basically, it's that. So it might have been a shower fight.
I think there's a tape in Peace Walker that goes into it a little bit. I think.
Yeah, but the Japanese version's longer.
Yeah, much longer.
My brother bought me the Peace Walker soundtrack back from Japan, so it's got all that on it. Obviously not subtitled, but I have listened to it. I listened to it in the car. I had like a couple of hours trip up to another city, and I just was listening through the Peace Walker thing, all the Japanese dialogue. It was very strange, I'll tell you that. But it's great when you just casually hear like the survival viewer noise.
Survival viewer!
Or the
そんな一息に。ああ、うまい。
They have a fish eating contest at one point, I think.
Yeah.
うますぎる。
That's great.
Oh,
Good
man.
times.
So moving on, let's take a look at Last Days of Foxhound. I think that's the first topic we've got going here.
Yeah, we thought we'd bring Waylander in, who's the champion of Last Days of Foxhound, really. Mad fan. So what do you like about Last Days of Foxhound, Way?
It's hard to put my finger on one particular thing about it. It's, I think the main thing I would say about Last Days of Foxhound is it's completely my type of humor. It's really funny, it's great writing, you get a good mix of different types of jokes as well, so it's not just, the same joke over and over. And I guess partly the strength from those jokes comes from the fact that Dr. Shrugs knew the characters so well, and everything just works. And of course, Liquid is the best, so...
Yeah, and he's of course
what
all over
to
it.
me is how well each character is turned into a really good joke on the character that we know. They're characterized really strongly. There's the characters we know from the game, and then usually they've just got one really cool, funny trait, kind of that twists them around a tiny bit, and that's strong enough that you can carry off 500 strips.
Yeah, like I think Mantis is probably one of the breakaway ones for that, where you get a character who is basically a gimmick in the game. I mean, a great gimmick. Everyone loves Mantis, and then Dr. Shrugs is like, okay, well, he likes his coffee, and he's actually quite intelligent. He just can't put up with everyone's shit, and the only person who can really rival him in Foxhound is Ocelot because of his contrived, constantly backstabbing nature, and then as well, then it comes with the really funny joke of Mantis sees himself as so superior, and yet he's afraid of girls' cooties and stuff. So.
I like that they really kind of expanded on. I mean, we know the characters in the games, obviously, and then in Last Days of Foxhound, they're consistent with what they've written for the characters. Like you said, with Ocelot's continuously backstabbing nature, he's always doing that. It's great. I love it.
And Sniper Wolf with everyone going where the hell is your accent from? And she's always just Europe.
It reminds me of. Did you guys have all that over there when you were growing up?
What? Europe. I live in Europe.
No, there was this old show where it was kind of like Saturday Night Live for kids, all that. And there was this one foreign guy on there, and he'd always say, "Oh, in my foreign land of yada yada yada," and they'd always ask you "Oh, where are you from?" And it was always just super ambiguous, like Sniper Wolf is in the Last Days.
Well, yeah, and just her accent, where does that come from? She's a cross between Borat and Dracula.
And then, of course, Dr. Shrugs has a lot of fun with the character of Decoy Octopus. To quote Decoy Octopus from one of the early strips, actually, hilarity ensues. I don't really want to give too many spoilers for what happens later on in Last Days of Foxhound, but if you haven't, listeners listening to this, if you haven't read it, go and read it. It's not just humor either. Like, it works in a bit of drama occasionally, and a bit of there's a few scenes might make you tear up a little bit.
I love that Decoy Octopus, he was such a minor part in the game. Like, technically, as himself, he doesn't even have a single line, and yet he pops up, like, in the sub and Last Days of Foxhound and, like, all these different iterations when we really don't know, like, a single thing about him.
That's what's so great about his character, though, and that's why I think it's dumb when everyone goes, oh, maybe we'll learn more about Decoy Octopus. It's like, no, that's his character. You don't know anything about him. You never meet him. You accidentally beat him in a boss fight before you even know you're fighting. I like that about him. And it's the same in the comic. He just kind of hangs out. Like, his skill set's functionally useless when it comes to everyday, planning or things like that.
I think the only character more useless than Decoy Octopus is Chinaman, which they come up against at one point.
That's right.
He can hold his breath for ages, so don't mess with him.
I kind of wish he had made it into Metal Gear. It was Metal Gear Solid 2 he was supposed to be in, right? Like, he was supposed to be the vamp fight?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was supposed to be a water fight, wasn't he? An underwater fight, which I'm glad did not happen.
Well, yeah, I prefer the fact that they've melded him in with Vamp, and it makes it even funnier in the comic, because Vamp in the comic has all the regular parts, so it's really useless to have Chinaman and Old Boy along with Dead Cell when they get encountered. So there's some really interesting stuff actually for MGS2. Like, if you look into cut content and like ideas, and it could have been a vastly different game, but I feel like the game we got was really like the best it could have been.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
No, I agree.
And I think if memory serves, he didn't even want to call it Metal Gear Solid 2, and you wouldn't even, know that you were playing a Metal Gear game until, like the reveal towards the end.
Yeah, I've heard that, and I really wish I could find where I heard that.
I've heard that too, but I've also
quoted it a few times now, and I know I've read it, but I'm trying to find out. I've got to hunt down where I got it, because I want a source for that. But that's the story I heard as well. Metal Gear Solid was originally supposed to be Metal Gear 3, and Konami said, no, we don't want to scare people off, because they don't want to get into a series. It's like, fine, I'll call it Metal Gear Cubed, or Metal Gear Solid. Which is just a hilarious reversal when he said, okay, well, I don't want to call this Metal Gear Solid. They go, oh, no, we've got to keep it in the series because then people will buy it. So, somewhere else, I think in the document, it mentions he wanted to call it Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
Have a 2.
Yeah. That's what I'd heard.
What did he give, like, any reasoning? But that one seems like a little odd.
Well, it's kind of, it plays with the whole information manipulation angle of Metal Gear Solid 2, though, where you'd have Metal Gear Solid 3 where you're clearly missing a chunk of the story, so if you were to then play it right and just be like, what the is going on?
What did I miss? Yeah.
Yeah, and then they could always, at some point, I mean, I don't think they would then release a Metal Gear Solid 2, they would probably leave that as a, no, Snake had this awesome adventure, and, the Patriots, sorry, the Wale Lule Lo, make sure in the edit you change that.
If I had to make a guess, I'd say Metal Gear, this hypothetical Metal Gear Solid 2 would probably be the tanker incident. So you start this game and the Colonel's like, remember 2 years ago when Solid Snake sunk that tanker, causing the worst environmental disaster in history? And you're just like, huh?
I did that?
Yeah. Like, it could be a mixture of that and, like, the documents that came with Metal Gear Solid 2. Like, I know in The Darkness of Shadow Moses it's just a retelling, sort of the Shadow Moses incident, but Metal Gear Solid 2, if it had been Metal Gear Solid 3, what would have been Metal Gear Solid 2 might have been a mixture of what we know now about the tanker and also all these sort of more ARG sort of elements where you'd find documents or whatever. Like, I think that would play in really well with the manipulation of the facts and stuff that is basically what Metal Gear Solid 2 is about, which is basically just because you read something doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah, and they do that even in the menu. I love how there's that nested layer of fiction. You've got like a book review on In the Darkness of Shadow Moses, and you read that, and there's some guy giving his opinion on the book. And then you get this weird wingnut conspiracy theory, incredibly well written, almost parody of tinfoil hat wearing nut bars, who's talking about this shit. And I love how he's constantly like piecing the puzzle together. And then going, oh, well, there's only one kind of person who could sneak into a base and do that without anybody noticing. Obviously, it was the grey aliens. Shit like that is very funny, and they nail that conspiracy theorist logic really well.
And then you get the actual In the Darkness. Like, I'm assuming you guys have read that.
Oh, yeah.
I typed it up.
I've been considering, like, because there's no audio version of it, like on YouTube or anything, so I've kind of been considering maybe doing that, but that'd be quite a task.
So like a dramatic reading?
Kind of, but like without the irony of, a proper dramatic reading, not look at this email I got dramatic reading.
One thing I really liked about In the Darkness of Shadow Moses was kind of how they fit the Patriots back into Metal Gear Solid 1 with stuff, we didn't really see in the game. Like, they talk about Liquid, talking about the Patriots right before he got into, I think it was right before he got into Rex, or it was like some codec conversation or something.
He talks, when Snake's unconscious on top of Rex, he just talks to Snake's lifeless body because he knows that everyone's listening.
Yeah, and, including the likes of Ames.
And he addresses the Patriots there, and Natasha's like, what are the Patriots? But the other thing I love about it is it plays out as like a hard-boiled love story. Like this hacker chick, nuclear expert, whatever, is like sitting in her house, and then her old flame shows up and has an important mission for her, and that's kind of the framework of the retelling of the events, which I love. And if I was going to make a Metal Gear Solid movie, I've recently decided it would be In the Darkness of Shadow Moses. Like,
I was just saying that's probably the best way you could do it to frame it, and that way you could have inconsistencies, because game movies are never accurate to the game, and they shouldn't be, because games and movies are different mediums, but that way you could explain it away as, because it's a retelling, it's not exactly going to be exactly what you played.
Yeah, and when all the fuzzy shit comes up about Liquid talking about genes, you just cut away. Let that happen while Natasha leaves her iron on or something, just to run away and turn the iron off because she's about to burn her house down. and she comes back and she goes, what happened? He goes, oh, Liquid just said something about genetics. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
I love that they actually gave her some kind of importance in the story, because I literally always forget that she even exists when I play Metal Gear
one
Solid
call from her own. She goes, if you ever need to know anything about nuclear warheads, give me a call. And you're like, will do.
On my most recent playthrough of Metal Gear Solid 1, I did every codec playthrough, where every room I went into, I called everyone until they were all dry. It took a long time, but Nastasia's codecs are some of the best ones in there, because it teaches you a lot about the actual world as well. And I always think it's such a shame that she does just sort of disappear off the character map. And I wonder if there's some horrible implication there, because she released the Darkness of Shadow Moses, and then by the time of 2014, there's nary a trace of her.
Yeah, fair point, because they managed to drag everybody else back.
Exactly. Maybe it was a small victory for Wally Lulu, though.
Yeah, they managed to dispatch of Ames pretty easily, too.
Oh, yeah. You're Ames, aren't you?
And I think I've gone on record as saying Ames is one of my favourite characters, but it's a cool introduction for him. Because if you've read it, you go, okay, who's this guy? And then you're like, say the first time you've played the game, you're a few hours in, and suddenly you meet Ames. It's like, hey, you're the guy from that book. What the fuck are you doing here? And he starts telling you about Patriots and stuff. It's a cool little moment.
Another sort of meta thing there. I like how when you go into the option, there's only one of the books available for you to read. So you read that, and once you finish that, you've unlocked the next. I think, is it the review that's first, and then you unlock the actual one, and then you unlock the conspiracy one or something like
Gary Troop. It's not Gary Troop. That's the guy from the fictional Lost. Hang on, I'm going to open up the wiki and have a look. So keep going.
Yeah, but I like that those sort of meta levels. I never read that before I played the game, so obviously I knew about Ames going into it. But I like the character building, the world building that's involved. And actually, speaking of that Ames scene, I've recently been rewatching Metal Gear Solid 2 via Perfect Stealth's YouTube channel, and it shows the whole Ames scene, obviously, because he's shown all the cutscenes. I completely glossed over the fact so many times that Ocelot, right from the beginning, knows Raiden's speaking to Ames, because it shows him looking at a camera, and he's got a microphone that you can hear them talking, like, right there. and I completely forgot, and it just makes the whole rest of that scene funnier for me because it's Ocelot pretending he doesn't know when he does, and it's such a Last Days of Foxhound kind of thing.
Yeah, and he strolls really slowly over to Ryden A. There's a little timer counting down and everything, but like Ocelot's like, "Come on, man, you can do this. Just play along. I'm coming. I'm going as slow as I can."
I actually failed that the first time I played MGS2. I kept dying at that little countdown because you had so much time. I was like, surely there's something else that I have to do before I put the mask back on. Like I'm missing something.
What I really like about that scene is these days that scene would be like a quick time event or something, but back then it was just, you were put back in the game, a timer, and you're like, oh shit, what do I have to do? Mm-hmm. Oh, AK, yeah, got it. Oh, cutscene. Yeah. Like, it ends the second you put the gun on, and so like normally it lasts like half a second. For some reason they've made it an actual gameplay element.
Yeah, and it just makes you forget about everything really quickly. They just put a timer on you, and you're like, oh shit, okay, and then everything moves on again. It's a good little... Sorry, I'm just reading this thing trying to find funny quotes from Gary McColden.
But no, I'm really enjoying that actually, so if anyone's listening and they want to catch up on Metal Gear, I suggest checking out Perfect Stealth's YouTube channel. Little plug there for him. But no, it's going really well, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him take on the Rays on Extreme, because as someone who's also done that, that is a very tense battle. It's probably
really?
Well, I found out of all of the battles from all of the Metal Gears, for me, because it goes on for so long, and you have to get into a really good rhythm. And once you're in the rhythm, it's fine, but it's very tense. And then afterwards, you've got Solid is choking you. And if you fail that, you have to do the battle again. Or if you haven't saved because you're going for big boss rank, you have to start again. It was one of the most pleasurable to actually pull off on Extreme, but other than that,
I think maybe that's one of the reason I love or don't mind the fight so much in Metal Gear Solid 2. Like, I've spent hours doing Vamp on Extreme, but it's so satisfying that it's completely worth it, and I have no negative feelings about it at all.
Oh yeah, no, I don't have any negative feelings either. It's just, it's tense. It was one of those things that once I was done and got past all this, I set down the controller and I could feel the adrenaline pumping through my body.
I didn't have too much problem, or I had a lot of problems with the Rays on Extreme at first. And then one of my buddies was like, you can control what attack he does with how ranged you are. And once I figured that out, I was like, oh, well, this is quite easy.
I basically got into a rhythm of bicycle somersault, rocket knee, rocket face, bicycle somersault, rinse and repeat.
Although once you're into it, you really don't even need to move that much. If you spread your stingers out a little bit, you can pin them down quite well. As long as you intercept those knee rockets too. If you stay on top of those, you really shouldn't be having many problems.
I cheated on Vamp. I'm not gonna lie. I did the prone trick.
Which trick?
Stream. You can go over to where the door is
and lie down, and he always
just calmly walk up to you over and over again. You can just sit there and take your time and blast him away.
I like that trick.
Whatever works.
Yeah.
It is my confession.
I only realized recently as well that how many times Raiden fights Vamp in Metal Gear Solid 2, because he accidentally kills him when he's fighting Fortune when he comes back, and then he fights him because he's flying the Harrier whilst Mr. President is firing the rockets and stuff at you, or
and
Mr. President's
the megaphone.
Yeah, exactly. And then you fight him underwater, like in the water treatment plant, and then you shoot him off of Emma. They really have a massive rivalry. It makes a lot of sense that how much they go at each other in Metal Gear Solid 4.
And then he shows up again for the final confrontation where Raiden has to have a conversation with Rose.
Exactly.
On the streets of New York.
Yeah, he's in the background. He is Raiden's shadow, in a sense.
I think he was, that was one of the trophies, wasn't it? Catching Vamp in that little last scene.
Yeah.
The Vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have some fun with the trophy names.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to go honorable mention to Snake Beater, because I never thought I would see that on the trophy list. There you go.
And no less, referencing masturbation.
Straight up, unashamedly.
Wait, what? No way! Thanks, Gruff, I hadn't figured that one out.
Yeah, I liked Snake's face in that codec too, with his like mouth like just kind of like slightly hanging open on a constant. Like, are you completely serious?
That's another one of those little attention to detail things when you go, oh, okay, someone actually went and made a 3D model or animation of that model just for the scene where Snake's like jacking off in a locker room. That was someone's job.
Well,
I feel like that was one of those like, and then I figured out he was serious type things.
Well, going to say that.
That's just MGS2 all over, though, because, I mean, they did the whole melting ice and the flower, and, you know, like, MGS2 is attention to detail the game.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, you can, like, break the bottles in the bar, you can shoot out the fire extinguishers, you can interact with so much in that world. And if I'm remembering correctly, I feel like that was the really popular thing to do in games at the time, or it was just starting to become popular, what was, like, the flashiest thing, because I think... one of the Splinter Cells that came out around that time kind of featured the same thing, where you could, you know, pick up a can and throw it near a guard to distract them, and you could break windows and break bottles and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and then MGS just killed it. Like, when Solid 2 came out, everyone went, oh, we're not going to beat that.
Yeah. Well, it's like, the codecs and stuff do change depending on what you've done in the game. Like, if you go straight to Big Shell, Raiden's codec with the kernel at the beginning changes. Because if you have done the tanker thing, he's like, I feel like some kind of legendary mercenary, and Colonel's like, yeah, shut up, right? Then, I also noticed in Stell's playthrough, because he picked up Sensor B before he got the last bomb, and then when he spoke to Stillman said, you'll have to use that sensor you picked up not too long ago, as opposed to normally where it's like, go pick up the sensor.
Oh, I didn't know that
either. I was having a conversation with someone really recently, and I said, oh, no, it can't be right, because you can't get the sensor until the bombs are done. And someone jumped in and said, that's not true. And I was like, wow. Well, I'm pretty educated.
Yeah, you have to make Stillman leave, which I think you have to do, like, most of the bombs, bar 2, I think. And then he'll head to, Shell 2. And that's when you can go and get the sensor.
Because I always do them in the same order anyway.
Yeah, so, well, I normally start with E, because you're already in E, or is it, no, C, the dining strut. Normally start with that, but Stealth left that for last, so you could do it.
I leave it for last too, yeah.
I always do that one first, so.
I don't even have, like, a set order, to tell you the truth. As soon as I get to the bomb disposal, I'm like, And, like, I know that, like, some people, like, love the bomb disposal part. I just find, like, everything surrounding Stillman, I'd find, like, super boring. And the dialogue surrounding it, too, like, Raiden's like, oh, you're the bomb disposal guy, and Snake's like, kid, this is the bomb disposal guy, and Raiden's just sitting there like, yeah, I just fucking said that.
That's kind of part of the point of that section, though. Like, the whole first act of Big Shell, you're supposed to be like, why am I, but the tanker, and, like, you're supposed to be frustrated and confused, and then it's not until... No, that is not Solid Snake, and all the stuff after that that things actually start to unravel, and like
it feels like a real war around you. You're constantly going, I know this. I'm so much better than this. I've done this before. Stop telling me how to press up against a wall. For Christ's sake, let me play the game. And then really, it just kind of opens up.
I think Super Bunny Hop probably covers that. Like, the simplest way to understand is just to watch his MGS2 video, because he sort of goes over that with the whole, why am I suddenly being told how to open a door when, back on the tanker I just did it. I'm not sure if that's a good example, but...
I know what you're saying, though, and I do get and respect that about MGS2, like, don't get me wrong. I think it's probably maybe because I know what's coming, that I just feel like I'm slogging through, like, the beginning of, like, okay... Alright, I know, I get it, come on.
Yeah, gameplay-wise, I kind of enjoy it, because you just get to do 2 trips around the first set of struts. Like, the first core, you basically do a couple of laps, and that seems more fun and open to me, because afterwards then you start going through the ruins. Like, once you've crossed the bridge with the Harrier, it's all just straight lines for quite a while. And you get to play around in the core a little bit. So that first opening gamut, when you're the messenger boy and you just got to go around logging into each node so that they can keep track of you, and you just go do a couple of laps, and then everything just kind of funnels you in once you've completed the, whatever it is they call it, the test to see if you're ready to carry on the program.
You just reminded me of another classic Ocelot moment that's very, like, he shoots the president, and then Ryan's like, "You shot the president!" He's like, "I guess my hand must have slipped," and then he just walks off.
That's just like, okay, bye then.
I find that hilarious, and that's, to tie it back into the beginning topic, Last Days of Foxhound, like, that's the kind of characterization that comic has. It just nails it so perfectly.
Yeah, that chronic backstabbing syndrome, and he just does random shit, and he swears up and down he's got a reason, but no one's allowed to know. I was actually just looking at that. No, it's not Ocelot, it's Mantis. I was just thinking there's a strip where Raven rips off Mantis's mask, and then the dog talks him into putting it back on again, so he tells him a secret. I like Berthold too. That's a great choice of character.
Berthold is probably my favourite character besides Liquid from Last Days of Foxhound. Like, he's the best original addition. And I really like, actually, the Sniper Wolf figure from years and years ago comes with a wolf, so I just pretend that's Bertie. Nah, that's, I love as well, this telepathic wolf, and like, it works.
I think, is it Mr. Weber that's coming out with a new comic soon?
Mother Base Adventures, I think that's already up.
Oh, I am behind.
I watched it the other night.
No, not the cartoon one. There's, I think someone else is pumping out a drawn comic.
I'll keep an eye out.
I feel shitty that I can't remember for sure who it was, though.
Yeah.
So, voice actors.
Yeah.
You just want me to say thank you on air for getting Cam Clark to wish me happy birthday, happy graduation. You and your ego.
Oh, I'm the
Speaking of egos, no, thank you. It's absolutely amazing. Thanks for getting that done. That is the best present I've ever received. So.
Oh shit! Thanks. That's high praise. I actually had I had just as much fun, seeing it come to fruition as you did. Because I mean, there was a time where I didn't think it was going to happen because they reached back out to me. They're like, "Yeah, we're interested. What's your buddy's name?" And blah 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And I messaged, I think, Tony and Bops and got your name. And then I sent it back to them. And then like 3.5 weeks went by. And I was like, "Oh, I guess that's not going to happen." And then I just woke up one day and like, "Oh, here's the file. Here you go."
Yeah. Like, we all kind of won from that, because you did this amazing thing, I got this amazing message, and the Metal Gear community got a little bit more Liquid Snake, which is never a bad thing. So
I think that's the first official Cam Clark Liquid Snake line since 2001, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels good, dog.
Yeah, that was the coolest part to me. Again, like, you hit the nail on the head, both of you, with that was the first time Cam had done the Liquid thing on Corded since 2001, and I mean, he still got it. It sounded just like Liquid.
Yeah, Liquid's must have been such a fun character to play. One quickly, I'm going to say, I'm also going to plug your second message, which absolutely made my day. Absolutely, it struck my humor in just the right way. Congratulations on becoming moderator of Metal Gear Solid. I lost it. Really
Congratulations on your
becoming a Metal Gear Solid moderator.
dear brother.
I just got the idea randomly because Cake Day was coming up. I was like, fuck, I already did one for, like, he already said birthday, I already did that, and then I needed something to, try Audacity out with. So, this will be a fun little thing.
Again, that's my humor to a T. It's just like, Mr. Black.
Yeah. And I mean, Cam Clark was just so super cool for doing that. And I mean, he's probably my favorite voice actor in the series. Yeah. Did you say not yours? Oh yeah. Is that yours as well, Waylander? I have to assume that it is.
Yeah, I absolutely love what Cam Clark did with Liquid. It's really hammy, but at the same time, I can really feel like the annoyance and frustration in his voice over the lot he had in life. He defeated himself with his own hubris, but he really believes that if he can just kill Solid Snake, nothing else will ever stop him. Like, he's so determined, you can knock out all of his life, but you can't defeat him until you knock him off of Rex. And even that doesn't kill him. And even dying doesn't stop him. So, Terminator should really look into how Liquid was written for the next movie. It's
Well, and it's great how, again, that's his Foxhound superpower in the comic, is that he's just unkillable. Like...
Yeah,
that's his special ability. There's a psychic, a shaman, a sniper, a sharpshooter, and just an unkillable guy who's a complete idiot. It's fantastic.
I think my favorite page out of all the comics is when they go into Liquid's head and they're speaking with his memory of Big Boss.
Yes.
And he says, "Well, you would be stupid too if you took on a squadron of F-16s unarmed and went through a jet engine and was in a coma for 2 years." And then they're like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, well, you managed to take them out, but like, it really suffered some brain damage." And then Big Boss goes on to talk about how he always told Liquid he had the recessive genes and stuff. And Mantis just goes nuts. He's like, "That's not how it works. That's not how genes work or anything." And Big Boss, because it's the memory, Big Boss is like, "Yeah, I know, obviously. I told him he actually has the superior genes." And Mantis is like, "Ah!"
What about you, Flash? Who's your favorite voice actor?
My trophy goes to George Saigon for Solidus.
That is a pretty
that
close
is
second, I would say.
I love his work in Metal Gear Solid 2. Because Solidus he's not as grandiose as Liquid is. I'd like to say he's restrained, but he still has a dynamism. He starts out as being like really mysterious and I'm the boss is the past big boss himself, and then he just hops in a Harrier and starts yelling out at you, go but he never loses his shit. Like, even when everything is turning to hell around him, he still kind of like doesn't panic, doesn't freak out. He's like, "Oh no, I've got this. My favorite line of his, which again sums up everything about Ocelot, because he obviously knows him pretty well, and Ocelot's like, "Oh, it's no good. The AI's going haywire," and he goes, "Ocelot, what have you been up to?" It's like, well, obviously he's got something to do with this.
Yes, go figure. I like that you kind of compared him to Liquid. I've always viewed, or at least this is how I looked at it, Solidus and Liquid are both very theatrical, but I view Liquid as kind of like stage theatrical, and Solidus I see as like kind of movie. Like a little bit more restrained, not so like flailing his arms around. And
he's more of an Al Pacino.
He's a whole different game from Liquid, brother.
Exactly.
It's
almost like George Saigon gets his yells and his growls in really good. Like, a lot of his dialogue consists of what I'm assuming is the word HRRAAAR. Like, he goes every time he pumps up his muscles and stuff, and it never sounds annoying or corny or shit. "Stop it, machines!" I love that. But unfortunately, he absolutely butchered Solidus miserably in the digital novel.
Oh God, I know.
Does everything the opposite of what makes Solidus a good character. He's yelling and making proclamations, and he got the voice, but he forgot the delivery, and it just destroyed it.
I feel like a couple of the voice actors did that in the digital novel.
They're more for a quick revamp anyway. I don't think anyone really goes into the digital graphical novel for delivery or anything. It's more just a sort of, don't have time to play MGS 1 or 2, and also it updates the canon depending on how you want to look at it. I quite like what they did with the Metal Gear Solid 2 one with certain bits, but it's not for everyone.
I started hearing it, and then David Hayter was pretty bad. Quentin Flynn was pretty much the same. Solidus was awful. So I just started kind of skipping through it on YouTube. But I got to the end, and like Snake shows up and beats up Solidus. So I was like,
yeah, that really robbed like Raiden of his whole story arc, basically.
Pretty much.
But when I say I like bits, I like the interaction between Ocelot and the Sorrow in that. I just kind of like it from a sort of corny kind of point of view of, "You're so weak, son. Liquid's taking over you," and stuff. And Ocelot's just like, "What? No!" Like, it's so out of character. It's hard to believe you're actually watching a Metal Gear thing.
One of the changes I did really like was in the Metal Gear Solid 1, since obviously you can't do the Psycho Mantis mind thing with the controller and everything. They add an extra scene where I think it was Kaz shows up.
Master Miller.
Yeah, Master Miller. It depends on what game we are. Yeah, he just shows up, and Snake goes and runs off with him for a minute and does all these terrible things.
But then he realizes when Ocelot's holding Meryl hostage, he's like, "Wait a minute, 2 hands?" And then that's
They can't get one past that Snake, can you?
Well,
Wait a minute, didn't your arm get hacked off like an hour and a half ago?
On the subject of that, I remember with the Raymond Benson, that like airport trash, MGS1 novelization. In the Psycho Mantis thing, they go to like Father and Son Land, which is like Snake gets transported to like this creepy fun house with Big Boss in it.
I've
Merry
totally
Christmas.
forgot about that. I had completely erased that from my memory.
Also, I forgot to say Christmas came early this year.
Asshole.
That classic Solid Snake line.
I think Solid Snake. That's
It's
what I
on
think
the
of.
on the back of the box, if I remember. It's so bad.
Other things on Ocelot losing hands, I've heard people complain, but I adore the scene in Twin Snakes where he's juggling his gun with his left hand in the torture room and he drops it.
Yeah.
And he picks it up like real quickly. He's like, that didn't happen.
Yeah, you didn't see that. That didn't happen.
That's a good moment. There's a lot of good moments, but I think we've been over that.
I feel like if we are going to touch on voice actors, we would, there's a lot of conflict surrounding it. We should probably talk about the David Hayter, Kiefer Sutherland debacle.
Wait, they changed voice actors? When did that happen? When did they change voice actors?
Halfway through the hospital scene, I understand, because that's when we change characters, right? No, I'm not going down that road.
No head transplants in this, please.
Well, what do you guys think about Kiefer Sutherland, though? Do you like him? Do you wish we'd go back to David, or?
I'm going to be really short here. I'll just get out of the way. No problem. I don't see it as a debacle. I see the stupid reaction, a lot of the reactions as a debacle. Kiefer's doing fine. I will miss David Hayter. He did great work. Peace Walker had more shit in it than any other game, but it also had equally fantastic stuff. It doesn't bug me, It reminds me of people getting shitty about George Lazenby, which may be fair enough, when Connery moved on. It's fine. It's fine. I don't care.
I'm about on the same page as you. I really like him.
I completely agree as well. Like, he's anyone wants to replace Hayter, then Sutherland does a great job of making it his own. He's not just Sutherland doing a David Hayter impression. He's doing his own Big Boss. But I like it, and I'll miss Hayter as well. Hayter will always be Snake to me, but in this next game, it'll just be Sutherland, and it won't take me out of the universe.
The world. When I want to hear great David Hayter, I'll go back and listen to Metal Gear Solid 2 and some of 3.
Mm.
And I'm going to say 4. I enjoyed him in 4 as well.
I think, the voice matched well in 4. Personally, I don't know why it kind of continued over to Peace Walker. But as far as Sutherland goes, I mean, I've always been a huge fan of him. He's a really talented actor. From the trailers we've seen, the facial capture kind of be showing off a little bit, and that's something I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, it sells it a lot.
I'm really looking forward to all the subtleties with stuff like that as well. Just especially in the Quiet But Not Silent trailer, you can't see much of Kaz's face because he's got the glasses on, but you can still see like the cheekbones and stuff move, and you can tell he's not happy with what Big Boss just said.
That's tone that would otherwise have to be dialogue.
Yeah, and then Ocelot's like, he goes to say something to Big Boss, and then he decides against it and just walks away. Yeah, I agree, boss, but then he's like, I really like that little trailer. There's so much there. It should really be called the facial mocap trailer.
For sure. And I was thinking the same thing too about like when it kind of zooms in on Big Boss, even after he said it, you can still, he's still swaying there a little bit. You can still see his mouth, like not really tremble, but you can still see his mouth moving, like a real person.
And I like that they show him from his profile where it's his horn and his eye patch, like his most demonic side, as opposed to if they showed it from his other side, that'd be more human, more relatable. But on this side, all we get is the blank, expressionless Big Boss.
Yeah, the icon.
Yeah.
I was just going to say before, on that topic, there's a bit with Solidus and Metal Gear Solid 2 where Ocelot starts talking about, charades usually are humorous, and he just basically twirls his moustache. And you get this zoom in on Solidus, and even though the character models don't really do anything, you can almost picture in your head the look on his face of, what the fuck, I am being screwed over. But in the Phantom Pain, that's going to be there. That's not going to be that little separation where you're kind of imagining it. It's going to be a performance which I'm really excited about. And Sutherland is perfectly good at he's dealing to it really well, everything I've seen, even the others as well. What do you think about Huey and Christopher Randolph's Otacon Huey?
That's a very good question.
From what we've heard of Huey from Peace Walker and the tapes, and I've already put my theory out there that Huey is a traitor, like, of his own volition. He's not, tricked into anything. But for me, from hearing his voice and stuff, he's meant to sound like, oh yeah, it's Otacon 0.5, it's Otacon before Otacon. But there's also, if you listen to it, there's a slight, not maliciousness, but like an arrogance to it. He's not he's sort of meant to be Otacon without the moral compass, in my opinion, which is then, for me, reinforced by the technocrat who stands his ground, because a technocrat is someone who sides with technology, so he doesn't care about the people, he doesn't care about the ideologies of one world order or world without borders. He just wants to make technology, and he doesn't care where it's going. But that's my own personal stuff.
That's really interesting. Thanks for that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hadn't thought of that before, but that totally fits, because I can definitely notice, the little subtle differences and stuff. But I mean, with those subtle differences, it's not that I don't like him playing Huey and playing Otacon. I just wish they weren't so similar.
Yeah, that really struck me in Peace Walker. I got over it quite quickly because I had to. Yeah, that really jumps out at me. Like, we've got the whole, Big Boss and Solid Snake and clones and stuff. Hey, that works. But doing such a Muppet Babies almost kind of routine there, where Dad's got the same actor, he looks the same, and that kind of bugs me. So it has bugged me a little bit, that Otacon voice, talking to Keith Sutherland and Cars, who are going over the shit they're dealing with, and it's like, hey, Snake, I've recalibrated the Switch. And it really it kind of is jarring when I hear it. It's still jarring when I hear it. So my verdict's out yet.
Yeah, because they in MGS5, it seems like they're kind of stepping away from the cartoony or the more anime style voice acting, and you're right. It's kind of jarring because Huey's still kind of that wacky fun time, Saturday morning cartoon voice, and I think I'll actually mind it less in MGS5 because when it was him talking to David Hayter in Peace Walker, it was just too much Snake and Otacon for me.
That's why I feel like, though, from what we've seen in the trailers and stuff, he may still have slight cartoony aspects to him, but it'll be more malicious in a sense, where, when he's reaching for the sky, he's obviously talking about some creation he's done, or he's really happy about something, but he's drenched because that scene seems to happen right after he's been tortured by Big Boss and that. He doesn't look repentant in that scene. He's like, I created this awesome, arms up in the air, I made a new Metal Gear, or, he's in it for the, look at this cool thing I made. He's not in it for, oh man, I just wanted to make cool robots.
That's the story with the pupa too, isn't it? He's like, oh, well, actually I kind of borrowed these designs, and I was just kind of going for it, and I got forced into it, but check out how cool it is. Watch out, Snake, it's got these really sweet-ass missile launchers. You want to stay away from those. They're top-notch.
I kind of feel like if Huey was in Metal Gear Solid 1 instead of Hal, he would have probably just sided with Liquid in that, because he would have been like, nuclear death machine? Awesome!
Sign me up.
I'm going to make it fire faster, and it'll fire two at a time.
Did you guys know I left this close combat module in there? I wasn't asked for it, but I just snuck it in there. So if you're going to be leading a revolt, I really think we should know about it, because it's going to increase your combat efficiency like you wouldn't believe. You could probably take out a lone soldier with it.
With a stinger missile, No, I can't do it.
I'll hit right in. I hear that now more than I hear the Grey Fox stuff.
Oh, right.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm always trying to hurry through it now, like Raiden and Vamp are sucking each other's dicks on top of the old thing. And I'm just like, hurry up, I'm trying to mash through the scene by firing the gun. I can't do it.
I remember back in the day, me and my friend each did we saved before that scene happened, and I did one playthrough where I took care of the geckos so he could watch the scene above. Went back and he did the scene so I could watch it above, and we did the same with the other, because there's a few other bits where that sort of thing happens.
The microwave sequence, and
and because I remember trying to watch the scene the first time, but the first time you're playing the game and you don't know what's going on, and then you're like, oh, I gotta do so much at once.
Yeah, I had to go back on YouTube myself.
Oh yeah, I've just played it so many times that I've just been able to watch the whole thing. That might be a humble brag, but yeah.
Well, I can do that now. I just at the time I was probably running low on railgun ammo as well.
Ah yes. Yeah, old war economy.
War, changed, economy, clones, genes, MGS4. Oh, how could I forget nanomachines?
Source of everything.
We could make you a snake-shaped gun! I like your video.
I hope we find like weird old tapes of Zero with him like talking about tea and shit and the Phantom Pain.
Yeah.
Oh, me too, because I mean, it's clearly, or I mean, I shouldn't say clearly, but it's looking like it's going to be a vastly different character from MGS3.
You think so?
I mean, I don't think he's, going to be holding, Big Boss over like a pit of death or something. Like, you know what would be great right now? A James Bond movie.
I do think we'll probably see a little less of the kookiness, but I would like it if they could work some of that in. Even a subtle reference, if you did ever confront Zero, if you did have an attaché case with a pistol or something hidden in it,
Like, hey, you did it.
Yeah.
I want there to be like the final conflict between them. They get into like a fight or something, and Big Boss has like Zero like cornered or something, and then he pulls out like a snake-shaped gun to finish him off, and Zero is just like, "Oh my God, you finally did it!"
That's how you trigger the secret ending. Like they just make up, and they're just totally cool. Zero's like, "Oh my God, I was wrong about you. Look, whatever, man. This snake-shaped garden, we can do this."
No, that's actually from insider information that I have. I know that's actually how Zero bribes Big Boss to join Foxhound again. He says, "I'll give you a snake-shaped gun," and it all makes sense now that you think about it. I mean, Big
That
Boss
folds into the attaché case.
Yeah, and because I mean he's been going around sliding down hills in boxes and stealing goats. Like Big Boss, the legend that we think we know. When we're gonna find out that it's basically he's just like a schoolyard bully. He's not actually a great warrior. He's maybe that horn in his head is affecting his brain a little more than he thought. Hey Kaz, I made a zoo. Boss, what about Cypher? No, but it's a zoo. We've got goats.
I almost wonder if Big Boss is just like on one big acid trip throughout MGS5.
He's just on a spirit quest. He's just completely abandoned anything else. He's just trying to find himself.
Everything after the scene with Code Talker, you can't take as reality anymore. After the peace pipe.
Clearly it's VR.
Oh, duh, everything's VR, didn't you know?
Do you know what's weird is, all VR is obviously VR in the Metal Gear universe. You have alternate missions in Metal Gear Solid 2, but VR missions are like obviously VR. Even in Metal Gear Solid 4 there's VR training. It's like clearly fake. I don't get this idea that it's secretly VR, because obviously it's not secret. Everything's orange and there's lines floating around it. It's like all this weird drum and bass acid jazz playing in the background. And,
well, it's because everyone's obsession with Lee Ruse Jima.
Of course.
Sorry, Troll Jima and his Ruse Cruise. Didn't you know we're actually in VR right now?
I can't wait for Throwback 30 Thursday for after Metal Gear Solid 5. Like, that's probably a little, like, self-promotion, but
no,
it's going to be fun.
You say that, but when you go to look at it, you'll be like, oh wait, this is just 5,000 quiet as Chico theories. This is worthless to me. It'll be like after World War II when the German Deutschmark became worthless. Like, you'll have so many theories, and they're all on the same thing that, I mean, you'll probably have a few rare ones in there, like back in the day when people used to say Decoy Octopus was Venom Snake instead of, the current Grey Fox fad. But,
you'd be surprised the stuff I already have saved. I think I already have... Hang on, let me open up the thingy here. I have 47 saves so far.
Shit.
Yeah, I'm like, and they're like, I don't do like copies either. That's only like maybe 2 Chico is quiets.
Oh my God. But you go back to those older ones, like, the old forums and stuff that you've dug up, and it's people all just kind of just bouncing around these retarded ideas. But you go back to like theories now, or even from a couple of years ago, like say on the subreddit, and half the comments are just going to be people going, fuck off.
Yeah.
So it'd be a little bit more bitter and vindictive than how it is currently, which is still kind of fun.
Well, even the well-put-together theories, not to toot my own horn, but like the ones I've done in the past, they could be completely wrong as well, and they could probably turn up in Throwback Theory Thursday, so there'll be some of them at least.
I don't think so. It's not about them being wrong or right. It's how you come about it, how you put it together, not just going, I had an idea. I
had a dream.
Metal Gear Rex is amphibious, and it could be amphibious because we've seen it on land, but we know it went underwater, and there's all this other stuff we don't know, so you can't rule it out. And
also,
had a scuba suit. So it's that kind of thing when you just have an idea and then you just come up with a bit of fiction to explain away everything that contradicts it, and then say, oh, that's my theory. It's not a theory. It's an idea.
Confirmation bias. The theory that's... I don't know where this has come from. Well, actually, I do know where this has come from, but I'm not going to mention. But the idea that the linguistic parasite is a literal thing, as opposed to a figurative, like, comment.
Oh, right. With the causes eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
they're
what's
all
your
like...
take on that way?
Well, my take on it is... Because we know Metal Gear Solid 2, that's kind of why I brought up a little bit earlier. All the stuff that Emma Emmerich talks about, where GW was designed for controlling the internet's linguisticness, pretty much. I took down some quotes from her. So one thing she says is, the alphabet, 26 letters, right? It could have been 30 letters. What if the 4 deleted letters were controlled by a program? And then Raiden says, impossible. And she says, it's not. In fact, there's something similar already underway. And she goes on about how genes, there's actually like 100,000 instead of 40,000, and the Lalelulelo's suppressing that information. And then she says, everyone's got a short memory, but digital information doesn't deteriorate. So anything on the internet, imagine you're absolutely sure that you saw David Hayter in the credits of Metal Gear Solid 5. And you're absolutely certain of that. And he actually is. But then there's some entity out there that changed it to Kiefer Sutherland. And so every time you try to fact check, it just comes up Kiefer. But you can't prove your point of view. And then over time, you'll just be left in the dustpan sort of thing, washed away.
It just turned into noise, yeah.
Exactly. So my take on this linguistic parasite is it's not a physical thing. It's not... Kaz got infected with the linguistic parasite, and that's why he has green eyes, and that's why blah blah blah, and he can't say this. But Code Talker can say it because he talks in codes, and Quiet is immune because she doesn't have a language, even though she clearly understands what Big Boss and that's saying, so she must have a language in her brain. It's more... there's actually people... Well, I don't know if this is a real job, but there's been speculation that some translators and stuff, they'll translate... Say there's a crisis or something that happens in China, they'll have a translator who translates it from Chinese to English, but they purposefully mistranslate it a little bit. So instead of saying 100 victims in an attack, they'll say 100 casualties or something. It's subtlety and stuff like that you might not really notice, but it has a different tone to it. So I think what they're talking about here is Zero is coming up with his plan that would eventually be set in motion with GW, but for the internet. But they'll have a prototype of sorts where it seems maybe to do with the English language or something. Maybe Skullface is trying to get rid of that, because the English language is sort of used as a bridge between multiple different languages. But I don't know enough about linguistics to say for sure. But I do know. Well,
consider Europe, the French, the Swiss, the Germans, the Italians. They all learn English and they can all communicate with each other.
And so it seems to me Zero is trying to create a one world within a border. It's almost like he's trying to make English the dominant one, which we actually see in Metal Gear Solid 4 when you watch the trailers at the beginning.
Yes, very much, yeah.
All of them are speaking American English, even though, if you're watching the Japanese version, they're all speaking Japanese, even though some of those take place in Germany and all over the world. So that is Zero's plan. We already know the end game. We're seeing the steps towards it. And I'm sure there'll be twists and stuff. I'm not saying that's all that will be. And, the AI pods and stuff are going to play into it as well. But there isn't it's not like the earworm out of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Zero's he's not mass producing those and feeding them to zombies.
See, I really like everything you just said, and I agree, but there's one thing that Metal Gear Solid does really well, and that's ridiculously exaggerates a concept into something tangible, almost at like a stupid anime sci-fi level. And so that's why I'm kind of wondering if, despite the fact that what you're describing is what's happening, they also have, and I'll just list a few things afterwards, but it's possible there might actually be, instead of the SOP or the Beauty and the Beast unit, these skulls really have been mind-controlled or turned into puppets because of some language. And that's just a really classic, blunt Kojima metaphor. We're going, language is making them puppets or whatever, and it's changing the way they think. And it's like, well, that's the thing there, and you're supposed to extrapolate that out to how that applies in the real world. Because we've got we've got quiet who's mute. We'll leave that alone. You've got these audio plugs inside people. You can't take much from it, but obviously there's something sound-based there. Let's go with language. In the close-ups of the female skulls, they're all wearing headphones, like audio headphones. Big, cushy audio headphones. So that makes me think something. And they also seem to have some kind of relationship with Psychomantis. And we all know that Psychomantis helped brainwash the Genome Soldiers by broadcasting a song, the Mantis hymn, over the loudspeakers in the base to get them under control. So that's all very tenuous things that are otherwise exist on their own. But one single explanation that might kind of speak to all of them is maybe we're getting the super literal Kojima exaggeration of an idea, which is used to launch us into what he's actually talking about.
Yeah, I definitely can get on board with that. Both, both the theories you guys just discussed are fucking awesome. Thank you. And
no problem. My check's in the mail, right?
Yeah, sure. It's I can only afford 25 cents, but it's on the way.
Yes.
And I think the kind of controlling aspect of it is something that really interests me, especially with the headphones and everyone, and then the female skulls wearing headphones. Yeah, I had the idea that maybe it was just constant language and propaganda playing through. Like these people have had their memories wiped or something, and now they've got. I'm assuming the English language playing over and over again in their head and what have you.
Or maybe it's a precursor to Mantis's hymn or something. I mean,
that very well could be. Like he's definitely playing some kind of role in there. But as far as like the actual physical parasite goes, I don't really see how that could happen because right there in the last trailer that we had, you can hear Ocelot say, in his eyes, the greatest. Parasite the world's ever seen isn't microbial.
It's linguistic.
Yeah, exactly. It's linguistic.
Yeah,
so it can't be a physical, infestation thing because he said right there it's not a microbial thing.
So he's clearly using metaphor right off the top of the bat.
Yeah,
it's parasitical behavior as opposed to being a parasite. The problem is the choice of the word parasite starts pointing in directions of viral spread, contagion, that kind of thing, which. There's nothing to point us here other than assuming parasite was chosen. It's a word that has connotations.
But he also uses the word symbiotic. It's a symbiotic parasite, as in it works with us to help us move forward, but also only exists because of us. And so
that's language itself,
Yeah, so that was the implication I got. It's more language, like we all have our own languages, and languages themselves are almost like an entity of their own, and that's why warring languages, because there's miscommunication between countries or whatever, and that causes wars or whatever, and the stronger language, air quotes, might be the one that survives. Or what I was trying to get across is that it's not a literal, like someone hears someone say something is quote infected. Like I think there could be propaganda and mind control. I mean, this is 1984 inspired or referencing, so there probably will be stuff like that, but I don't think it's oh no, someone said the code word and now Kaz is evil.
I don't buy it.
Unless he gets brainwashed.
Language is the foundation of memes, like that's the idea. It's the building blocks of what a meme is, whatever your meme might be. The Catholic Church, or Armies Without Borders, or ice cream is great, or war is honourable.
Just to clarify, we're talking about the actual definition of meme, not the cat
image
frog
macro.
pictures.
Not the dank mayonnaise.
Exactly.
Animals.
Yeah.
For anyone listening, it's image macro, not meme. Sorry.
Yeah, so like you got your four proteins are what make up a gene. I think there's an analog there in that language, your GATCs of your meme. And so zero starting at a very fundamental level. For later on in 20 years, 30 years time, they start getting at the difference between, say, manually breeding animals and genetic engineering. If that makes sense.
No, it does, yeah.
So yeah, just to throw that in the mix while we're at it.
Yeah, but I like what you, like, it definitely, I don't know much about the skulls, honestly. I've gone frame by frame through those and like tried to see if there's anything I missed. But it's so
there's not a lot,
because you see the ones walking normally, but then you also see the ones doing the monster mash, and then there's that one seems to be like a super skull that the helicopter crashed, but it could just be the angle the helicopter's going at. But that one has like stuff over its eyes as well. There doesn't seem to be a uniform per se. Like the closest we've got is those female skulls.
Who are basically designed to look as close to naked as possible.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a Metal Gear Solid if they weren't.
Like the textures on their suits, like are designed to make it look like most of it's just skin, and there's a small square patch on their chest. Yeah.
And also, what I noticed was in the helicopter scene in the latest trailer, I went through it slowly. There's a skull coming in with the same power as Quiet, but it's really slow. You can see the arm of its jumper, or whatever you want to call it, its fatigues, like slowly going up, and you have to step by through quite slowly, because it's actually quite a quick scene, but like comparatively, if you compare it to the Quiet But Not Silent, where she just like is in,
Right.
It makes me wonder. I'm still not sure if it's chicken or egg. Is Quiet a failed skull, or does she have the power that they're trying to copy?
I think she definitely ties into the skulls somehow or another. I mean, with the teleporting and, none of them... I'm assuming none of the skulls can talk.
Yeah.
Well, it's a cool question, and it's a nice thing to... Like, we've been given the scenario for the question, is Quiet a skull, or are the skulls based on Quiet? And it's just something to kind of contextualize when that storyline arrives when we play the game, and we've just been given enough to kind of prepare ourselves for it, but you're never going to guess it. You're not meant to be able to guess it.
No, and that's just like the other stuff in the trailer as well, like with the spooky Scully appearing out of the back of Big Boss. Like, that's meant to make you go, wait, what? And then, double liquid at the end, thanks to Decoy Octopus. But, but like, all these things people are trying to figure out. I don't think you can at the moment. It's purposefully messing with you, which I feel like must tie into the Zero's plan somehow. I don't know. I'm thinking about it too much now.
We've been going through the ever-loving translator. Head Chef has been doing the making of Nuclear trailer.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a small project going on with a handful of us just jumping into a Google Doc and slowly working our way through it, and then we'll make a video and publish it. My impression, based on this Nuclear trailer that he's talking about, he's not really getting all weird about it. He's just trying to... He's picked a tone and an aspect he wants to get across, and he's just focusing on that more emotionally. I
don't actually think it's related. It's just one of those things you start thinking about it, and then you start to go too far, and then that's what Metal Gear does to some people. I can't blame people for going too far.
Well, I think we're running a little... We don't want to give people a 2-hour podcast. So
it's a bumper. It's a bumper episode to celebrate the great and glorious Waylander 893.
It's also a good learning curve, because now we know that when we get guests on, we're going to have to shut them up pretty quick.
Yeah, we'll have to put on like a 30-minute timer or something.
Oh no, you won't. I'm staying. You won't be able to shut me up. It's not like, but.
That about wraps it up, folks. Thanks for checking us out. We'll be back next weekish for next week's episode. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Scuff. Thanks, everybody.